MLB insiders just dropped major information surrounding the Boston Red Sox offseason plans when attacking the starting pitching market. I'm here to break down all of the new reports from Jeff Passan, Jon Heyman, and others discussing how Joe Ryan could be at the forefront of the plans of the Boston Red Sox this offseason. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Red Sox Digest, but first, please do remember, scroll down and click that subscribe button, as nearly 70% of you guys watching this video are not currently subscribed. Help us hit our new goal of 10,000 subscribers. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys tremendously for everything. But now let's get to it and break down these major Joe Ryan updates, as we haven't discussed Joe Ryan a whole lot since the offseason has officially started for the Red Sox, but we all know what Joe Ryan is to this Red Sox organization and the fan base surrounding the Boston Red Sox. And if you are lucky enough to have no idea what I'm referencing, you missed last season, specifically the trade deadline, the MLB trade deadline from last season. Because for about, 4 minutes, I believe, maybe 3 minutes, Joe Ryan was a Boston Red Sox, based off the two reports, one from Fox Sports MLB and Yahoo Sports, both on Twitter, posted a graphic that looked relatively similar to this one. And it said, "Breaking, Joe Ryan has been traded to the Red Sox per John Morosi." And it was basically a misinterpretation of what something Morosi had said. Unfortunately, all of Red Sox Nation and basically all of the MLB world was set to fire because they all thought the Boston Red Sox, being led by Garrett Crochet in an offense that looked really, really good and very scary for a lot of credible teams in the league, just got better with another dominant running partner next to Garrett Crochet. Obviously, that did not happen, and the Red Sox went without making a blockbuster trade for a new addition in Boston. We all know that they did make a blockbuster trade well before the deadline in Rafael Devers going to the San Francisco Giants. But now we get to the offseason, and now that we know Craig Breslow has not only said it once, but he has doubled down in the last few days about the Boston Red Sox plans. Not only about going out there and obtaining a power bat for the middle to early stages of this lineup that is going to be prolific and scare the other teams, but at the forefront, alongside with that power bat idea, is the addition of a pitcher, and a starting pitcher at that. And we are not discussing a number 4 or a number 5 or even a number 6 guy in that starting rotation for the Red Sox. Craig Breslow is on the record once again stating how the Red Sox are in the market for starting pitching, but not just some ordinary starting pitching. They want a number 2 guy, a legit number 2 guy, along the talents and skill level of a Joe Ryan to pair next to Garrett Crochet to create a dominant 1-2 punch in the starting rotation for the Boston Red Sox. So we got a tweet from Jeff Passan, and really it was Tyler Milliken that went on to paraphrase it and give us a few of the quotes, a few lines of it, and then he went on to subtweet the original tweet with the actual article. That's what you see here. If you click on it, it takes you to an ESPN article written and published by Jeff Passan, the one and only. And he goes on to break down basically every team and what they should be looking to acquire this offseason, and really what name is sticking out to them. For the Boston Red Sox, it was none other than Joe Ryan. Now, this is not a surprise. Joe Ryan has been in connections to the Red Sox ever since a month before the trade deadline of this past season. There was a lot of rumors, there was a lot of conversations, and there was a lot of speculation. Obviously, it played out the way it did, but now that this regular season has now ended and we are into the free agency period, we are into the offseason where trades can be made, free agents can go out there and be signed. This is where things are really going to start picking up. And if the Red Sox couldn't get it done by the thread of a needle, and we got multiple reports about whether it was relatively close in happening, it was far distant, it was mediocre, we got a lot of different reports. We ended up finding out it was close, but it just didn't quite happen between Boston and the Minnesota Twins. So now, from Jeff Passan, this is what we hear as, quote, the perfect transaction. At the trade deadline this past season, the Red Sox believed they were close to landing Joe Ryan, an elite arm who had his best year yet for the Twins in 2025. As long as the Red Sox ownership keeps the financial clamps on Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow, he'll need to get more creative in improving a Red Sox team that is already quite good. Revisiting what he missed at the deadline is the simplest way to do so. And so much as the Twins say they would want to win in 2026, they understand. Now is the time to strike in dealing Boston another frontline starter to pair alongside Garrett Crochet. is the way to do it. Trade for Minnesota right-hander Joe Ryan. And that is the quote from Jeff Passan, alluding to the idea that the Red Sox best opportunity this offseason to pair someone, a frontline starter next to Garrett Crochet, is by calling up the Minnesota Twins, the same people they got into a near trade at the deadline this past season to finally complete it and get both sides in a winning situation. Obviously, Minnesota is far from winning. They traded away everybody but Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan was on the brink of being traded. Everyone else was out of there. Went to Chicago. They went to LA. All over the place. Different teams went and shopped around the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins were answering every call. They just didn't move Joe Ryan. They didn't move Byron Buxton. So going into next season, what could you really expect from this team? They're not going to be able to fully reset in just one offseason by going out there and signing every free agent available. It's not going to happen. Yes, they could go out there and make a splash, but are they going to be able to go out there and make enough substantial moves that are going to put them in a position where they could legitimately contend next season? Odds are, and I mean the vast majority of the odds are, absolutely not. So why not take the goods that Boston is going to give you and send that frontline starter to Boston? And yes, Jeff Passan stated that Joe Ryan was coming off his best season in 2025. And if you look at the underlying metrics, they aren't great. Joe Ryan missed a little bit of time. He has in his career dealing with a groin injury as well as a shoulder issue, but he has been relatively healthy. He has a legit five pitch mix, and he has arguably the best sweeper in the game of baseball. He's up there with Matt Brash and a few others in a very, very small pool of players with a horizontal breaking slider that is simply comical. Joe Ryan actually won on Pitching Ninja. If you don't know who they are, please look them up on any social media or on the internet in general. They're one of the best content pages when it comes to just filthy pitching. They're very insightful. They're very, very knowledgeable. And they're very good with their content. And they awarded Joe Ryan with the nastiest slider of the year because I believe it broke 21 inches horizontally. It was a frisbee. It looked like he was throwing a wiffle ball in blitzball. It was funny. It really was. And it obviously was in a Major League Baseball game against Major League talent. And he made the batter look absolutely silly, as he would with absolutely anybody that decided to get in the box and he decided to throw that pitch because it was gross. Joe Ryan's contract situation is interesting. He has avoided arbitration for the last 3 years with the Minnesota Twins after being traded by the Twins from the Tampa Bay Rays, as the Rays once again traded away another great talent just before he decided to hit his peak. And the last two things we're going to acknowledge are both another sets of quotes, both from John Morosi, the one and only, who allegedly broke the news the first time back at the trade deadline. But he goes on to answer this question on MLB Network. Which star player is most likely to be traded this offseason? John Morosi's answer was simply Joe Ryan. And he went on to elaborate about the Boston Red Sox and what took place at this last year's deadline during last regular season and how Minnesota's in a very interesting spot. And they, like I mentioned earlier, are not going to be able to go out there and reset their entire team in a single offseason. So in order to trade someone like Joe Ryan, and with the case of trading Joe Ryan, they're going to be able to reset financially as well as with a bunch of young talent in that farm system coming from Boston, as well as maybe a major league ready player in Wilyer Abreu or Jarren Duran, depending on the overall price tag for Joe Ryan. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of very, very, very quality starting pitchers on the market this offseason, both via free agency as well as the trade market, as we all know. And it seems like teams as well as involving the Red Sox are going to be very much not only in Joe Ryan, but the ample amount of starting pitchers, including Freddie Peralta and others, that could be available via trade this offseason. Joe Ryan seems like one of the more intriguing pieces, only 29 years of age with a legit 5-pitch mix, coming off one of his better seasons. Plugging him into a system where he's going to get 4.5 to 5.5, maybe even 6 runs a game from his offense, as well as playing alongside guys like Garrett Crochet and Brayan Bello, as well as a bunch of young guys like Early and Tolle. This is a really, really good matchup for all parties included when it comes to Joe Ryan and the Boston Red Sox organization. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. Let me know down below. What are your overall thoughts and opinions on Joe Ryan? And do you think the Boston Red Sox should make him the #1 starting pitching target this offseason? I'll see you guys on the next episode of Red Sox Digest. Thank you guys for watching.